Hangout podcast where three bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor with Kate, and joined by my regular co-hosts, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, and
sorry. There's a big Daddy Longlegs in this room, and it just literally went into my face. Then, Daddy Longlegs, is that the official name for it? That's not my name. My name's Ben Errington. Where's it gone?
So we're four horror film fans, including one Daddy Longlegs.
One Daddy Longlegs / is it called a crane fly? Is it also a root, just an urban legend that they've got really poisonous venom, but no fangs?
I don't know. I mean, that was in that Ricky Gervais stand-up thing ages ago, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true.
I don't know where it's gone. It might have gone into my pants.
Why does it have such long legs? What are they for?
It's just for getting all up in your business, pretty much.
Yeah, just pissing about, because they're not very good at flying either. They're always...
No. I think it's because of the legs weighing them down.
One of these days, they'll evolve into a Daddy Short Legs, and then they'll be invincible.
Maybe that's what the creature from A Quiet Place used to be.
Because
it's got quite long legs.
Yeah.
And then obviously developed super hearing, and long limbs, leggy venoms.
Leggy venoms, classic.
Yeah, leggy venoms, mate. Ridiculous.
So, how you guys doing? Have you been up to much? Have you been drinking lots of fluids? It's quite warm at the minute.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep last night. It was too hot.
What is going on with this sudden late surge in warmth? Because it's been pretty chilly for a few weeks. I think hoodie weather started setting in last week, and then this week, sweltering.
I had a t-shirt today. I made a mistake of going out at lunchtime with a jacket on. Regretted it instantly. Almost turned back.
What did you do? Did you go for a jacket over the shoulder?
No, I just suffered because it was only a thin jacket, and I was like, I don't want to carry this. So just walked around quite unhappy, and then just didn't wear one the next time I went out.
See, as a man, it learns from his mistakes. That is admirable.
I also have an incapability of turning back. I'd say it's one of my greatest weaknesses. That when we used to work in an office, I'd sometimes pick a direction. So it was like a square building. The toilets were in two different locations, about equidistant. And if I'd walk and if I go to the first toilet, it's out of order or whatever, I can't go back. I've got to go all the way around. I just can't.
Is that because you
can't face turning back?
Yeah. Is that because you don't want people to see you sort of changing your mind?
I don't know.
I
don't know what it is.
He's got a bloody wrong way, ain't he?
Just struggle to go back. It's as if you ever, if you're ever waiting in, back when we used to do this type of thing, you're waiting in the pub for someone, and then they message you or something and say, "Oh, I'll actually meet you in the next place," or whatever. You almost have to do a bit of pantomime to read your message. Meeting me somewhere else, I see. I'll just be
He's got a full pint, but he just goes just downs it and goes, "See you later."
Or if you're ever walking down the street and you do a little trip over, you've got to pretend you've momentarily broken into a run.
Yeah. Well, I like to look back at the thing that made me trip.
Angry.
Watch out. Steady on. What are you playing at?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's playing it down.
Yeah, you got to play it down a bit. You can't just try and.
I like to completely go over the top and collapse onto the floor and act as if I'm in real pain, so no one could really laugh at you because it'd be heartless.
Are you all right? Yeah, I am all right.
Pretend you're really, really badly hurt. Karen said that once. We're in a shop, one of those ones that you feel incredibly stressed being in because there's ornaments everywhere, precious ornaments.
Oh.
And Karen was like, "Oh, feel a bit nervous in here. What if I accidentally knock something with my bag?" I said, "If you do knock anything with your bag, just collapse to the floor and pretend you've had some kind of episode, because that's the only way. It's something in here. There's a gas."
There's some gas. There's definitely been a leakage somewhere.
We got any horror news this week?
Yeah, we got some horror news. Some horror news that broke today. Quite exciting is that the game Alan Wake, there's going to be a remastered version released this fall, and not only is it on Xbox, but it's finally on multi-platforms as well. I never ever played it because it was never on PlayStation. So how does that sound?
You've not played it before? It's
No. So I'm familiar with it, and I'm familiar with some bits with the character due to the game control, and just always sort of seen bits of it about. But
I
yeah,
wonder how it will hold up. 'Cause I remember at the time it was like quite interesting and quite well put together, and it's really it's not an open world, but there's an element of open wilderness to it that I found quite amazing at the time.
Yeah,
Really
I
cool
really
feel that
liked. I really liked Alan Wake. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Kind of liked the mechanics. And in many ways, it is very on the nose, but I don't care because it's a lot of fun. So for those that haven't played it, you are effectively like fictionalized Stephen King, right? You're the kind of character that Stephen King writes in lots of his books, who is a writer and has the metaphorical powers that we used to seeing from, a similar studios game, Max Payne. He's got tons of similes about him, and it's all very David Lynch, I guess. Like it's lots of the things from his writing. Yeah, it's got Twin Peaks things about it, and it's about his writing sort of bleeding in with the real world because of some stuff that's going on. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In the Mouth of Madness a bit as well. He's got a lot of layers on, I've noticed. He's got like a jacket, a hoodie, a blazer.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Bloody freezing.
I was going to say, I remember it being quite scary at the time as well in places.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if it actually was. I was quite, when did it come out?
It's got to be 15 years, if not more.
Yeah. I thought we would say that here, but no. So obviously, remastered version of Alan Wake, but also the Dead Space remake as well. And I think this week they showed some gameplay mechanics, sort of like the build of the world and the build of the characters and the enemies as well. So it's looking very nice.
Yeah,
very
Dead Space also great. And I know we should be less excited about remakes of games that at least some of us have already played, but I don't care. Sometimes it's just nice to have that familiarity, and like basically the versions of these games we're going to get are how we probably remember them in our brains anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great for like a new generation to be exposed to them as well.
Both of them are very compelling. So it's good to do. And you're right, Ben. Like it's nice that people who didn't see them, like with you and Alan Wake the first time round, you didn't have the console it was on. Yeah. I'm all for practically everything being multi-format, because if something's really good and has a great story, or is a great experience, you kind of want more people to play it. So exclusives and so on, like I understand why they exist, but I would rather they be few and far between.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Do you remember that movie Antlers that I think we talked about being released?
Yeah.
Well, it's finally actually being released. It was set for release in April 2020 originally, but now it's going to be released October 29th, 2021. So it's still slated for release. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro, directed by Scott Cooper. Always thought the trailer looked pretty cool. Kerry Russell's in it. Jesse Plemons as well. It was always good. So
Isn't it written by Nick Antosca? He did the
yes, it
Channel
is.
Zero series.
Channel Zero stuff, yeah.
And also, he did that brand new cherry flavor, which I've not seen, but
I've heard a lot of people really into that.
Yeah. I've heard people mention that a few times already. I don't really know what it's about though, so maybe I could look into that. And then following on from last week's episode, Candyman, looks like Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions have inked, that means signed, a 2-year television deal with Universal. So I know Jordan Peele was obviously involved in Twilight Zone. I don't think that was Monkey Paw Productions though, but quite interesting that they've moved on to Universal, because I think they had some sort of agreement with Amazon at some point going down. So yeah, new Monkey Paw Productions.
What does Universal
content
look like? I mean, what are we talking about? Movies at the cinema, or
it's a 2-year television deal with Universal. So yeah,
what does that end up on over here? Do we get Universal Plus?
Channel 5? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll turn up somewhere. Maybe it'll be like individual properties will be sold to individual things. It could be a Shudder thing. Some of it might go to Netflix or Amazon anyway. I ain't buying another service though, guys. Universal, I know you're listening. Don't even think about it. Not having another service, thanks.
Don't even think about it. No. Hang on a minute. We should bundle all these services in together and just pay for one service with loads of different channels. That sounds like a good idea. It'd never take off. It'd never work.
Yeah, you're going to bring back, like, listen, media companies, you're going to bring pirating things back if you're not very careful. Just be cool, all right?
Be cool, guys. Be cool.
When I think of Universal, I guess because of the attempts to run it off, I always come to like Universal Monsters. So, quick question: if you were going to have Jordan Peele direct one series with a Universal classic horror monster, who would you give him?
I would be tempted with The Mummy. I mean, Creature in the Black. I'm going to say The Mummy. I don't know why. I just feel like maybe be quite interesting, more so than like Frankenstein, or then again, it'd be interesting to see him do a Dracula.
I think we've seen so many Dracula adaptations, and then there was that BBC one recently, wasn't there? Maybe Frankenstein. I want a bit of a Frankenstein kick, so maybe Frankenstein, something quite unique with that.
Jordan Peele would do a good The Wolfman.
The Wolfman. Well, that's being made, isn't it, by a movie by Wannell.
There you go. So
the Daddy Longlegs is like circling my head. I feel like it's gonna try and impregnate me or something.
It's gonna be in any second. Yeah, sticking those tentacles in your tongue. I'm
gonna grab.
He should do Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, and he could let's have some good like social commentary in there as well. You know, I mean, I know it already does have that, the Frankenstein, but yeah. I'd like that. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. So basically, we're agreed. I'd be interested to see whatever he does. He does interesting stuff on the whole, but yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
That's that. Has anybody seen anything of note this week?
Yeah, I've seen and played some good stuff. I watched a new movie that's out. It's on iTunes and all that jazz. It's called We Need to Do Something. I read the novella and the screenplay is written by a guy called Max Boog III, who we interviewed on an older podcast 3 or 4 years ago. He wrote and self-published this novella, We Need to Do Something. I read it last year. I think it's really, really, really good. Josh Malerman's production company picked it up and like steamrolled it into production, got it made really quick. It played at one of the big festivals, did quite well, I think. Now it's online and it is really good. It's pretty stellar. Though it's about there's a big storm in America, and like a big hurricane kind of storm, and a family has to go into a bathroom to stay safe during the storm. But a tree falls in front of the bathroom door, like through the roof, and locks them inside, so they can't get out. So you've got this whole kind of one location situation going on. What do you call that? A boiling pot situation.
Yeah.
And then they start to hear weird noises outside. So we start to think maybe it wasn't just a storm. Maybe something strange happened. And then we find out that one of the people in the family has been dabbling with witchcraft. So maybe and it might be related to that. There's an amazing scare in there. It's got in the woman from Hocus Pocus, not Bette Midler.
Not Bette Midler, and not Sarah Jessica Parker, the other one.
No,
the other one.
The other one. She was the young girl.
Okay.
And now she's like the mum in the family. It's got Pat Healy, who's great in everything I've seen him in now. There's the dad. And then it's got, I don't want to spoil it. There's just a voice. I don't know how they've got this guy to do a voice. That's why it's not what you won't know. It's Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne has a cameo in this film. Yeah. And it's
just shouting Jared for
it's really cool. It's fun. It's like quite low budget, so I don't expect nipples to be rocked off, but it's a lot of fun and it's really cool.
That sounds very good. You say it's on is it just on the VOD services that you buy, or is it on anything like an Amazon that you just watch with a subscription?
Just VOD to purchase at the minute, I believe. I don't think it's on any subscription service.
All right then, Max. I'll send some money your way. Luke's convinced me, but you owe him one.
Yeah. I think we should maybe get Max on the show to do something because he needs to do something to chat about the film or to chat about another film with us. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a good film, and it's a great book as well. I'll definitely recommend anyone to read the book. Have also one more thing they've been playing a lot of is a game called Subnautica, which is
oh yeah,
I think
is this one of these like a survival crafting-y thing, right? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the premise is you're on some ship and it crashes and you get in an escape pod and you land on this water planet. It's just water everywhere, and you're in this escape pod, and then it's just a deep, vast ocean with like a crazy amount of different bits of wildlife. And you've got your the wreckage of your ship, which you can go exploring in, swimming through the nooks and crannies of it to get supplies and stuff. You just got to stay alive. That's like the main game loop. There's a day-night cycle, and you've got to cook fish, keep yourself alive. But it gets really scary. There's some bits when you go under, you have to go really deep. When it gets dark, you get through cave systems. You start to feel the claustrophobia. You start to hear noises of weird, because there's a lot of like strange creatures as well. You're on an alien planet. Who knows what they are? You start to hear weird noises and you think, what the hell is it? And there's one bit, like a shelf, an underwater shelf where the ground
drops off. Yeah.
I was like swimming forward, the ground dropped off, and I was like looking at just vast nothingness. And I got the same sense of dread I get when I'm open water swimming in the sea. It's just a real sense of there could be anything. You can't see the bottom, you can't see the floor at all. It's like there could be anything now. And you can hear like distant whale noises and stuff. Oh. It's really good. It's genuinely quite terrifying in places.
See, that's really convinced me. Like with huge kind of with games with like a nebulous objective, I'm sometimes put off from starting them. So I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, this one has inciting incident. There's a bit where you realize there's more on the planet there's more going on than you thought, and it's got a really cool sci-fi story that seems to be naturally sort of occurring. I think it's maybe my favorite type of game. I didn't realize this, but like open world survival where you look at something in the distance and you go, I want to see what's over there. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, that sounds good. Maybe I'll give that a go. I feel like might be on Game Pass. Might have a look.
What are you playing this on, Luke? Sorry?
PS4. I think it was free at some point or whatever. Maybe
I might own it then.
Was it?
Maybe a state of play thing. I don't.
Oh, was it one of the ones they gave away when PlayStation were really leaning into the lockdown? So stay in, right?
Play at home.
It might be one of those. Yeah.
I just had it in my library. Maybe I bought it at some point, but
might even have it.
Yeah,
have a look into that. Yeah,
it's really cool. Really, really, really enjoying it. Yeah. What about you guys?
Anything, Andy?
I don't know if you want to save this for last before we go into the film of the week, but it's been another busy week here. But I did get round to seeing The Suicide Squad by obviously director of today's film, James Gunn. I really liked it. It was very good. You're absolutely right, Luke. It is a very me type of film.
Yeah.
Without spoiling a film that we're not, here to talk about directly, like the thing I like about James Gunn's movies, and we'll cover this today and any other of his other films, is that they have a lot of things that I really like. I think they're very good at subverting what you expect is going to happen on occasion. I think they typically have nice, sharp, and fun dialogue about them. I think characters are, even simple characters in what is meant to be like a popcorn entertaining movie, can be more complex than you might give them credit for. And amongst anything else, has a nice bit of heart to it. He's not above making you a little bit sad in a comedy film or having some laughs in a horror film. And I think the last part is he just doesn't mind pushing it that little bit further than you expect a film of that certificate is to do.
Yeah. It's got when I think of like a good superhero team up movie, the team up bit has to like really come together. I think this is maybe the second best team up moment. In Avengers, the first time you went to watch that, and like it flew all around New York, and it does the the turning panning thing around all of
Yeah.
them as they're kind of that bit like gave me goosebumps when I watched it in the cinema. And then this one, when they start running towards they start marching away from the thing and start running towards the other thing, the big thing. There's some really nice music. There's some like punky, like it sounds a bit
Music's
like
great.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like Marilyn Manson's cover of that Eurythmics song.
And
yeah, it's fantastic. Really
yeah,
good.
James Gunn does a good needle drop as well. Like I think without beating up the previous Suicide Squad movie too much, not because I feel bad about it, but because we've only got a certain amount of time. You know, I feel like that's one of the main differences. There's a difference between the kind of way you integrate a score and a soundtrack into this and what James Gunn also did with things like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I feel you see a bit of his hand in this with, I know he has something to do with the Dawn of the Dead remake as well, right? I think he was
Yeah.
He wrote it.
writing credit as well.
Yeah.
I feel like when you see his hand in these things, that is something he's incredibly skillful at. If I look, and I'm very reductive of the last Suicide Squad movie, I feel like it was trying to emulate that, but doing so a little less skillfully. It felt like you are selling albums, and it's like the needle drops are second only to the ones that we got in the Fear Street trilogy, where there were countless and sometimes a little bit jarring, but these ones seem to just come up so nicely. Yeah, love it. Thought it was great. Good characters, good villain.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
What about you? Sorry, is that everything, Andy?
Yeah, that's all. It's been busy.
I guess keeping with the comic book adaptation, I saw Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings last night.
Any good?
Won't go loads into it because it's just come out and don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it was really good. It was definitely up there with the sort of top half of the origin stories that Marvel have done, and you can already see where they're going to go with phase 4 as well. And again, I always enjoy watching a movie about characters I don't know all that much about. I think that's always enjoyable. But yeah, the martial arts and the choreography and especially the final act as well was very fantastical. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm looking forward to see them lean into, I guess, again, another subgenre, which is, this is what I've really enjoyed with these MCU movies in particular, is that superhero movie isn't a genre, it's a theme. And we've had all these different things which very successfully integrate. You have space opera comedies in Guardians of the Galaxy. You have a spy movie in The Winter Soldier. I'm looking forward to seeing a martial arts movie, and from
this
all
is like
of the
a fantasy martial arts movie. Yeah,
and from all of the trailers I've seen, the choreography looks fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the only other thing I saw, which I didn't thoroughly enjoy, was Don't Breathe 2. So I don't know how you guys feel about Don't Breathe. I thought it was all right. It was a fairly tightly wound thriller with some decent tension going down. And what's his name? Stephen Lang was pretty intimidating as a scary homicidal blind man. This may be the most pointless sequel ever, because not only does it pretty much forget everything that happened in the first movie, but also it encourages you to forget everything that happened in the first movie. Sometimes sequels just carry on from the first one and go, right, forget that, here's a different story. But it basically goes, remember that murderous rapist who's keeping people locked up and artificially and what was he doing? He was
trying to artificially inseminate him with the base.
Artificially inseminate people.
Yeah.
Remember that guy? Well, in this film, he likes dogs, so he's cuddly and nice and lovely.
He's the hero now.
And I'm just like, what the hell? And the plot is just a mess. It's just such a mess. I'm like, I don't care about anyone or anything or why anything's happening. They involve a kid, and the kid's it's just a mess.
So what
so Stephen Lang is the hero.
Stephen Lang's supposed to be the hero, but the villains, I don't know. I'm just a bit right. What do they want? Okay, they want this. but why do they want that? Okay, for this reason.
And when
None
do
of
they
it
want
makes
it?
sense.
Now.
When do they want it? Right now. It is like
I mean,
utter shit.
are the villains of the piece, do they, are their hobbies something that is worse than forcibly artificially inseminating people that you've captured?
You wouldn't necessarily say worse. I think they set it up with that they want to try and make them out to be worse. But no. It was a real slog, and it was like 90 minutes long. But it was a real slog from the get-go where I was just like, okay, I remember this guy, I remember this, what was happening, but it just offers absolutely nothing. And when does a sequel ever go to you? Just forget everything that happened in the first film, please. Even though
actually,
it's the same
not
main
that bad.
character.
There's a scene at the beginning where he's sitting and reflecting on it, going, I was probably out of line on that one. I won't do that again. I'm truly sorry.
Initially, I thought maybe it's a prequel and it shows us what happened to make him like that. You know what I mean? And that would have made more sense in a way, because I'd have been like, right, okay, he's not quite a bastard at this point, but we're going to see how he became a bastard.
Yeah, no, like a scene at the beginning where his daughter comes up to him and is like, because he hasn't died at the time, and is like, oh, Dad, should we get a turkey baste? He goes, so what would I need that for?
What would I ever need that for? I bloody hate turkey. I'll get one anyway.
Turkey baster.
Chekhov's turkey. Yeah, it is. It's just a real when a film just does make you angry, angry at the existence of it, where you just
heard it from Ben first. Don't believe the hype.
It's not directed by Fede Alvarez.
Produced it by him, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, he's probably just because he made the first one. You know what I mean? Do you want to produce it? Well, I'm making a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. What shall I make this film about?
Ran one idea past him, and
also, the movie's called Don't Breathe 2, right? So the first movie was called Don't Breathe because there's a blind man knocking about. There's a blind man cutting about.
And you mustn't breathe.
And you mustn't breathe because he'll hear you and kill you. In this film, breathing or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to affect anything. It's nothing to do with anything.
Don't exist.
There's not a point where someone's hiding and going, that doesn't happen. Ridiculous. Don't breath.
This is a follow-on question from that, Ben. It sounds like it was a slog, but you got through it. What is your guys' feelings on giving up on a movie? How often do you do it? Do you ever give up on a movie? Have you ever given up on a movie at the cinema and walked out?
Not at the cinema.
No.
The other day, it was late anyway, so I shouldn't have put it on. But I was on my Arrow video player service, and I put on Guyver because I thought I remember Guyver. That was the awesome what's it called?
It's
Tokusatsu thingy.
It's David Hayter, isn't it? Solid Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got Mark Hamill in it as well. But it was so not great.
So not great. I tend to I'll commit to watching the film, but I'm gonna get distracted. So I might be talking not in the cinema, obviously, but if I'm watching at home, talking about it much more than I should be, just literally tearing it apart, going, that makes absolutely no sense. Or maybe just the worst one is when you're so distracted, you just start looking at your phone.
Oh, you know getting your phone out is the death knell of
now. Initially, I get my phone out because I like to look at Letterboxd and IMDb and look at the cast and crew and look at, whoa, that person was in this. Oh yeah, I knew that person was in this.
That's an acceptable use of your phone when a film is on, because otherwise, in many ways, you're less distracted because then you just know the answer to the film trivia you need rather than sitting there
True.
That's true. That is true. But when that becomes, I'm going to look at Instagram now, and just and looking at people looking at people who've reviewed the film and have given it 4 stars or something, and going, "What's wrong with you?
What's up with you?" Or you've really lost to them. It's like, I wonder if I could save money on my electricity supplier. You're on Uswitch. You're flipping through. Not really enjoying this film, am I?
I wonder what I'd do if I was blind, knocking about. And someone broke into my house.
You're sitting there going, how would I enjoy this film if I was blind? You just sit there closing your eyes. About the same amount as I'm enjoying it now, I imagine.
Yeah. He's just old man Daredevil, isn't he? Pretty much. But not saying Daredevil was a serial murderer rapist. But
you have to be careful, Ben. Yeah.
Because of breathing air.
Yeah, he'll hear you. Yeah. You have to be careful slagging off Daredevil, Ben. Very litigious.
you know what's crazy though? I was gonna go and see this at the cinema, but I kind of missed the run of it. So, good job, eh?
Good job.
Couldn't have got your phone out.
When's Doom coming out? That's soon, right? Is Doom soon?
Dune soon. So I think
Dune
Dune
is
in the
soon.
UK is October,
Oh, that's not
Mid-
soon enough. I thought it
mid
was
to end
sooner than that.
October. It's been getting good reviews though. I saw a couple of places give it a 10, a couple of places give it an 8.
That's what you want.
That's what
You
you
go
want.
see it. I
Yeah.
feel like this is one that might be a little bit heavy on the sci-fi side for Karen to see it. She'll come with me because she's very good like that. She'll come and suffer all types of films that she has no interest in. But I feel like I
Just
can
for
already
you.
predict that we're going to walk out and think, that was a fucking load of shite.
She'll be watching you, and then she just look over and go, "You enjoying this? You liking this?" And you go, "Yeah, I am." That's good.
Whenever you're watching something
That's good.
and your partner or your parents come in and say, "You don't half watch some shit, do you?"
Yeah.
Well, no, because
And you're like really into it.
it always goes to a terrible moment when that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
I
yeah, exactly.
remember- I remember once I was playing like God of War 3 or something, and for some reason, I can't remember. I don't think it was my mum. Maybe it was my sister. She just came into the room when there was like a quick time event sex scene where you've got to like take someone's clothes off with like X square, R2, and L2 to unclasp the bra. Well, maybe not a bra. God
Oh
of War.
no!
And she was like, "What the hell are you playing?" And I was like,
And you think,
"It's
oh.
like a hack and slash action, like adventure, like ancient Greece God's game. All right, it's not a sex game."
And you
But
really have to balance whether you're going to continue playing this embarrassing scene, or
You
there's
can
no
also-
pause, or there's no pause in a QTE, so you're going to pause it and miss.
I think I was getting frustrated as well because I kept messing it up. And what happens is there's two women watching you having this sex scene with somebody, and if you get it wrong, they go, "Ooh." Like, I want to know what happened because you don't see it. I want to know what Kratos did. He's got his nuts caught in his his little-
James. Well, I've not played the first three.
I played the first one. I got halfway through the second. I'm going to do the others eventually.
The new one was amazing, like unbelievable.
I mean, they're all amazing. You know, I mean, the earlier ones are completely different, but they're all amazing.
Yeah,
games are just fun to play, even if people do catch you at the worst possible moment. The flip side of the terrible thing that can happen to you is that someone wants a quick word with you just as a cutscene runs in Metal Gear. I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh yeah.
And we were at my friend's house, and he's playing, and then his mom wanted to ask him something. It was literally, he was like, "Oh, can I just watch this one?" And it was towards the end of the game. It was like 45 minutes long. She's like, "No, I really need to go through this now." And I was like, "This doesn't pause. What am I going to do?"
It doesn't pause.
Yeah.
Just
To be fair, with a Hideo Kojima game, there's no window for someone to put in. It's just constant story moments coming at you.
How long isn't the end to Death Stranding like an hour long?
Still going on.
It was like I think it was like 11 o'clock, which is way past my bedtime, and I thought, I'm near the end. I can't stop now. I'll just power through. I think it was like 4 a.m. or something ludicrous.
Jesus.
By the time it was all done.
I did that I made a gross error on Batman Arkham City. Probably almost didn't get married for it. Like, Karen was on a night shift, and I'd got to Mr. Freeze in Arkham City, and I thought,
so he gave me
the cure. So I beat Mr. Freeze, and he gave me the cure, and I was like, this is wrapping up now. I'm just going to power on and finish it. And what I was meant to be doing was looking at honeymoon destinations, and it got to 4 a.m. and I finished it. And then I just had the thought of like, oh, I should have stopped this about 5 hours ago.
Where are we going on our honeymoon? Gotham City, I'm afraid.
It just came to the point where I literally had to do, I was really tired, and I literally just had to do the poorest searching ever. So not paying any attention, just literally with several tabs at once, looking at several destinations at once, scrolling and clicking to have what looked like a variety of places that I definitely looked at and researched thoroughly, just enough to get me through the conversation when she got home like 2 hours later to go, oh yeah, so I've considered these locations. In the end though, got an absolute roasting for it because I had not done an acceptable amount of research. But we did get married, so it was all okay. But I learned a lesson that day.
Went on the honeymoon to Barry Island, and everyone had a great time on the 2p machines.
But yeah, apart from those existential horrors revisiting us, just watch the movie of the week.
Yeah.
Movie of the week, which is Slither. Is a 2006 American science fiction black comedy horror film written and directed by James Gunn in his directorial debut. It's exciting. A small town is taken over by an alien plague, turning residents into zombies and all forms of mutant monsters.
Yeah, it's got IMDb has it as a 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 87%. The audience score is a measly 63%. Letterboxd has it at 3.3 out of 5. A couple of choice reviews here. Zackham put, as soon as I finished with this rewatch, I got down on the ground and slithered around my apartment for a full 97 minutes. 2 minutes longer than the film's runtime. This is what devotion looks like. My transformation has begun. 5 stars. He quite liked it. And then some other person, the Dreamer with a 3. The Dreamer. Considering that these alien slugs take possession of the human body by entering through cavities and not even a single time you make them enter through the ass, makes my disappointment immeasurable and my day ruined. 0.5 star.
That's what you wanted, dirty boy.
Just some ass slugs. Yeah. Slugs in the ass. Okay. So have you guys seen this before?
Yeah. This is a film. Yeah. I think I own this on DVD. So this one got quite a few watches back in 2006 to probably like 2012. Probably watched it quite a lot. Don't think I've seen it since then though. So this was probably it was nice to revisit.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
I think I'd just seen it once when it came out. I think I missed it at the cinema. What year was this? So 2006. Yeah, I think I missed it at the cinema. I caught it on DVD. Definitely one I bought because 2006 is prime era for a 3 for 10 at HMV. And you going like it's not even that I only want one DVD. It's that I don't need any DVDs, but there's a 3 for 10. So I'm going to come away with 3 to 6. It's some multiple of 3 of DVDs.
I think I had one of those horrible DVDs, where it's like a cardboard cover with a little, little plastic clippy bit. Didn't enjoy those ones.
And what was, no, they're no good. And then Slither, I think Slither was also probably prime candidate for being in a mismatched double pack that was in your Woolworths. It'd be like
mismatched Slither and
the Jungle
America.
Yeah, like a real mismatched pair there. So yeah, I had it on DVD and I certainly watched it the once, which isn't necessarily a given. Sometimes with those bonanzas at HMV, you would put those 3 on your shelf and never watch them. But I definitely watched Slither.
Not even take them out of the plastic.
Yeah. Oh, and I used to like taking them out of the plastic because you find a sharp edge and you run it down there like you're chopping the heads off a tuna in a fish cannery. But yeah, Jesus. I hadn't watched it for a number of years until the rewatch for this.
This must have been my first exposure to like a lot of people because I don't think so. I'd never seen Michael Rooker in anything before. Even Nathan Fillion, because I think I ended up watching Firefly like quite a while later. As well. And I guess this was like the early career of Elizabeth Banks as well, before she was doing.
Was she in a Teen This American Pie style thing?
She was in a few sort of like I was going to say not teen comedies, but like.
Is she Freaks and Geeks? Is she one of them?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a great question.
Let's have a look. Films as an actor. She's been in 73 films.
So she was in like things like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which was just before this.
Oh yeah.
She's in both. She's in all Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire movies as Betty Brant. Oh yeah, Zach and Miri Make a Porno, Role Models, all that stuff.
I think this is a fairly stunning cast, right? Loads of people who are extremely famous and well thought of now.
Yeah, definitely, and. People who have followed like James Gunn's career trajectory towards greatness, which is awesome. It's a great like ensemble cast with some like really funny people in it, and a lot of faces where you go, I don't recognize that person from something. What do I recognize them from?
Yeah. It feels like James Gunn is definitely one of those directors that is very loyal to the people that he knows he likes working with. And it feels like if you're good friends with James Gunn, then he's always going to find a place for you in whatever movie. And like, to varying degrees, like Michael Rooker has a great, huge, significant part in this one to play.
Yeah, and it was weird, like seeing Michael Rooker in this part, because in my head, I'm quite familiar with that part in Slither, but I never associated Michael Rooker with it because obviously I've become familiar with him and his work later on. So yeah, that was a bit strange, but still, it was good.
What's your go-to when you think of Michael Rooker? Is it your Yondus from Guardians of the Galaxy? Is it your Walking Dead Merle or Earl?
Walking Dead as well. Yeah, Merle. Is it Merle? Yeah, Merle.
Yeah. Mel Dixon. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's. I guess yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, but when he was in The Walking Dead, I was quite significantly invested in that show at that time. So yeah, and I think I've played a couple of The Walking Dead games with him in as well. He's got a very distinctive voice and presence.
He's got a distinctive voice for sure. And actually, he's one of those guys. As we were watching it early on in the film, we see him getting ready for bed in his jammies, and you think, is he younger than I think he is, or is he just ripped as shit? He's like a fit man.
Yeah. And I can't imagine this being the kind of film that James Gunn would have gone, right, Rooker, I want you to have a really strict dietary routine going on, because I want you to be ripped for this one shot where you're going to try and get it on with Elizabeth Banks. I want it to be believable, even though you're significantly older than her, and we do cover that in the movie. I want you to look the part.
Maybe it was Michael Rooker himself thinking, right, I'm playing the husband of a much younger and very attractive person. I don't want people to think I'm that it's all about, money or like a power dynamic thing. I'm going to really make sure I look fit for that. And, in the run up to it, he was really going for it.
Maybe it's because there's something quite threatening about him as well. Like,
yeah.
Not just as a character, like as a character before things kick off, but also afterwards, you're a bit like, oh, geez, don't quite. Maybe it's because of how much time he was going to be spending in makeup as well. He thought, full body, torso, makeup effects, creature effects. I want to be in good physical shape. I don't want people poking around in there too much.
In the one scene that I'm in it as myself, pretty much, I'm going to make sure that I look fabulous. Don't want to get typecast as someone who's always like covered in old chewing gum, like bloody Charlie. Yeah. How handsome do you find Michael Rooker out of 10 in this film? Like,
are we not falling over Nathan Fillion?
I mean, he's very charming, but I think Michael Rooker's really been hitting the gym.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion, I think you just comes with the territory, don't you? Know exactly what you expect with him.
Good hair.
Yeah, I think he it doesn't feel like he's quite perfected his Nathan Fillion-ness yet in this film. When did he play? So he was in Two Guys and a Girl with Ryan Reynolds, which was like that weird sitcom, and then he was in this, and then I want to say Firefly, Captain Hammer, and then what was the
so
Castle?
Firefly was 2002 to 2003.
Whoa, okay.
So he's in that first. I didn't see it till later. Is it one that caught on kind of late?
Yeah, I saw it much later. Castle was like 2009 to 2016. So this was sort of in the middle of those two.
Yeah, it feels a little bit not normal Nathan to me in this one. Not. I mean, he's still doing his not usual charming stuff, but yeah,
it's not reached the height of his powers yet.
Yeah. Who else? So Elizabeth Banks. They all the key players, really.
I think that's most of the key players. There's like Nathan Fillion
in it.
James Gunn is in it very briefly. Yep.
Yeah. Did you see other friend of James Gunn? Did you notice Lloyd?
Yes, I did notice Lloyd. Yeah, that was in the police station, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a drunk in the police station. Good old Lloyd Kaufman of Troma movies, where It's funny you mentioned, Ben, that like this was his James Gunn's first like credited directorial movie as in a feature film. Those eggheads not allowing those Troma movies that he did beforehand.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, he write some Scooby Doo, the movies.
He wrote the
I think
Scooby Doo movies. He wrote
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, both of them, and he wrote Romeo and Juliet, didn't he? Yeah, very interesting. I wonder how he got that. I wonder how he got a Scooby Doo gig. I'd like to know how.
Yeah, that feels like a big jump from Troma to Scooby Doo.
I could see why he would do it. I could see why he would do it. Like he's got that kind of quirky style that would work. Maybe he just had a pitch and just picked it, and that was picked up. But I can imagine him doing something like that and it working. It would feed into his style quite well.
Yeah. And then there's Super, obviously, as well. I don't know when Super was. But I guess Jenna Fisher, sorry, who was his fiance or wife at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know that. But yeah, it's just a very, very small role, isn't it, for her?
Yeah. Bit part. Yeah. I really liked the guy playing the is that the town mayor or something?
The mayor, Gregg Henry.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
If you showing the influence to the Thing in that one as well, his name's McCready, right?
McCready, yeah. Because I noticed there was a store called R.J. McCready as well, which was nice little nod. Enjoyed that. So how does it start? Is it pretty much?
I think there's like a meteor that crashes to the ground.
Classic meteorite landing in small town America. I was just about to say useless cops, but you wouldn't call them useless at all, would you? You'd say the police force of this town, Wheelsy, in South Carolina, it's pretty spot on.
Yeah. They're just there hanging out in the car. A meteor comes down. Nothing happens that same night, right? So you have to have a day shift yet, where we see Starla, so Elizabeth Banks, teaching at the school, and we learn that she is married to Grant.
Yeah, classic. Surname the same as first name. Have you ever experienced this phenomenon in your life?
Other than a sat nav, Tom. That's nothing else really.
A family friend of my, like a friend of my dad's growing up, his name was Gerald Fitzgerald, and I always used to laugh about it, but he was really sensitive about it, to the point where, like, at a point in his life, he started calling himself Jerry.
Oh, that makes sense.
Jerry Fitzgerald.
It does make sense, but I can imagine me, like an 8-year-old kid, just going like and him going, I'm really sensitive about it, all right? And then, of course, the dad of Gary Neville and Phil Neville, his name was, rest in peace, Neville.
Yeah.
There we go.
Was that really his name? We had a science teacher called Mr. Knock, and there was a rumor going around that he had a son whose name was Nick. But I don't think that was ever citation needed.
That's a fantastic rumor for a good old Nick Knock, Paddy Walk. Give a dog a bone. So we're sort of established that Grant is married to Starla. He's the older man. She married him when she was pretty damn young. I think someone mentions gold digger, don't they? But I don't think it was that at all. She kind of was. She had a bit of a difficult time when she was younger, and he was the safe older man. So she went off with him, but now he's quite protective of her.
It's interesting. Get over here. Grant in other films will be played as a dickhead. Like, he is to some extent a dickhead in this, but he's also like, he's just genuinely like loves his wife as well.
This is what I was saying, and let's go back to Candyman last week as well. Thanks for that 4 more times. But I mentioned when we were talking about Suicide Squad that there is a depth to some of these characters that you wouldn't get from some other filmmakers. Now, Grant, as we will go on to see, is effectively the villain of the piece, right? He is going to be the big threat throughout the movie, partially, sort of him. And also, we kind of want to dislike him a bit because he's does a bit of bad bloke stuff. But even though he like does bad things and transgresses, like you say, Luke, he isn't a bad person entirely. There are things about him that he loves his wife. So, like, basically, we'll get to it. Like, Starla comes to bed. He's feeling a bit frisky and pushes it a little bit far and makes her feel uncomfortable or pressured. And she snaps at him, and then he kicks off that they're not really having sex anymore in their relationship, and he storms off out to a bar.
She's already got her rollers in.
Yeah, can't be doing that. You'll be crimped in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
So yeah, terrible crimps. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So he storms off and goes out, and then it would be so much easier for another film to make him very two-dimensional here, because someone else comes in and kind of, it's another younger woman who has always been attracted to him because he's known as like the rich, successful guy around the town, I guess.
How depressing is this bar scene as well? Like, he's sort of sat there on his own watching a woman sing karaoke tune, the crying game, and then like a man in front of him as well, just like a whole table full of nuts, just like eating them. It is super depressing.
It's a depressing bar, and then someone comes up to him, and then I'm fast forwarding through this bit of it to get to the point here, but effectively this woman goes off to the woods with him to show him where she carved a little love heart in the tree that said she fancied him when he was a kid, and then goes to pretty cop off with him, and he's not having anything because he's married and he's worried. He says, "Oh, actually, I need to get home because my wife's going to worry about me." So he's not a complete arsehole, basically. He's not necessarily a good person.
Like a redeemable factor.
Yeah.
There's like,
They say he loves his wife. And then, as I was mentioning with the Candyman, this is one of the problems I had with the movie last week, that we had some very skillfully delivered characters, and then some characters who you wanted to get knocked off nice and quick, who were just through and through. They were like a stick of rock. You cut their arm off and it's going to have arsehole printed all the way through that. And it stood out in a film which was by and large quite thoughtful. But now you have a film here which is, by its own admission, it's a silly, schlocky horror movie, but the characters here still have a little bit more nuance to them, in this example, at very least.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I think that's something that comes through in James Gunn's work from this and beyond. You know, sometimes characters that could be quite two-dimensional are given a bit of and they give you that unexpected moment of care, I guess, for somebody when you're like, oh, I didn't know if I was really going to care that they're dead, and now they're dead. Oh dear.
Well, that especially in Suicide Squad, that really does.
Yeah.
He replays those cards quite well.
Yeah, and he's not afraid of killing a character off either, even if it's one that you're going to like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very instant death sequences where you're like, oh well, no, oh, he's got them as well. So they find this meteorite, and it kind of looks a bit spiderwebby, I guess. Yeah. Looks like Peter Parker's been at it, and he's been flipping all over it.
In my head, it's the one from Creepshow that Stephen King.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Is it? Did they look exactly the same?
Why? He gets meteor shit on him.
I think it looks kind of similar. This one looks a bit more. So what happens? I can't remember.
My reference here, especially because they poke it with the stick, is the Blob. You know, this is the homeless man poking the meteorite with a stick, and then he got blobbed, whereas Grant gets spiked right in the chest.
I've got a spike in my chest, Liv.
He gets a spike.
There's a lot of how much Grant / Michael Rooker chest action is there in this movie? His chest is getting, it's in, it's out. It's like
maximum airplay. Yeah, so he gets spiked and basically collapses, only to then get up and then march away, leaving. Oh, what's the lady's name that she's with?
Brenda.
Brenda's kind of just wondering what he's doing, and then we get like a Mortal Kombat X-ray effect, don't we, where it goes and shows inside his body.
We see it like go up his spine and essentially into
Oh,
his
yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
So a Mortal Kombat fatality moment, and then he just goes home, doesn't he?
Yeah, he drives
So
home.
he starts eating all the meat, or
Yes, that's right. He drives home and he says meat.
Chomping at the bit.
And he chows down on all of his cold cuts in the fridge.
Yeah, and then the next morning, Starla gets up, and doesn't she basically wants to make amends with Grant, and she says, she starts playing a song, which I think maybe was played at their wedding or something.
Yeah, he sings like that. She plays like their first dance. You're every woman in the world. Yeah, like it's just like a nice. Like she tries to make amends and tries to, I guess, bring some romance back into their relationship. And again, this is a nice touch point, right? This is them. It's not that she is the victim of an unhappy marriage that she was forced into when she was too young. She does love her husband.
Yeah.
And he comes up from the basement where he's like making a nest.
Slept on some leaves in the night.
Slept on a load of old leaves. He like pours the leaves out and gets on it and like that's wiggling around, making a nice little bed. And I thought,
I guess big question: why did he have a bag of leaves in his basement?
Maybe he swept them up the day before.
He done some raking, hasn't he? Done a bit of raking. And he gone, they'll come in handy.
Yeah. So he has a little bit. He gets down, and then I guess you have a worry here that is he going to be just a monster already? But he isn't. He knows who his wife is, and he talks to her and do a bit of sexing that he was after last night. Except he wasn't an alien then.
It's weird because there's a bit where he like looks at the photo of them, looks at their wedding photo, and almost like remembers who she is from that.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's taken over him to a degree, but then he's also been able to drag himself back in because there's a few times I think where you think he's going to kill her, and he manages to like stop himself from doing that.
His mind is kind of getting lost to the hyper consciousness of the alien thing, whatever it is. And every now and again, he's able to bring it back a bit and remember who he is. It's weird because
bring it back.
He's constantly kind of losing himself to this alien super brain thing, but then every now and again, like it's weird that when he just says like Starla's name or something, it's weird that he has like as much control as he does because everyone else starts falling in love with Starla instead.
I was I wasn't sure as to what the angle was on this, whether it was as you guys just described. Was it that he had some kind of autonomy that was left and it was Grant trying to exercise his personality, or having assimilated Grant, because he kind of mentions in an alien context late in the film that he's never felt those feelings before. So I'm not sure whether it wasn't the other way around and it is entirely the alien the whole time. Grant is dead, but it's kind of got the feelings from him. So in many ways, having experienced love and the feelings that the body is had towards Starla, is the alien feeling these things himself? Because then she's later on she's you like it when I call you Grant and you're having a name. So I guess you could interpret it either way. I took it the latter, that it was maybe the alien had decided he loved her.
I took it the former, where Grant, like it's like an individual versus the hive mind sort of like there's some sort of internal battle going on.
Yeah.
Like in the Hulk cartoon, there's like a chess match or something going on inside his head between the Grey Hulk and the Green Hulk. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Or Superman 3, where they have that fight in the junkyard.
Yeah. So I think we get a bit of Nathan Fillion accent around here, don't we? I think we cut away from Grant for a little bit. I can't remember what. I don't know.
Is it the build up to? Is it in? I think it goes to the. We have a couple of little throwaway scenes, like Starla goes to work the next day, and then I think she mentions things getting a bit better with Grant, and then they have it's like a barn dance or some sort of event that's on that evening, and he walks in on her as she's in the shower, and he's got his tummy tentacles are around at this point.
Yeah,
and he's getting
your tummy tentacles away, you dirty boy.
Yeah, and he's getting a bit he's getting a bit hungry. He's already gone and bought loads of steak while she was at work, like all the steaks in the
Yeah.
world. So
He goes, "Can I just have 6 ribeyes, please?" "Oh, you're having a barbecue?" He's like, "Yeah, something like that."
yeah.
"Actually, make it 12. Actually, make it 24. You know what? Give me everything you
And
got."
then he turns up with literally the back of his truck loaded with meat. And then at some point, maybe you've seen him eye up a dog suspiciously as well. I'm not sure if we've seen the fact that he's been eating dogs or anything yet, but effectively
This is one of those films that gives no shits about showing dead dogs.
killing animals. Yeah.
Killing animals.
He's again, this is probably the point that you think that Luke made as well, that like it feels like he's about to attack Starla, but then the Grant portion of the personality kind of stops him, and he storms out and says, "Oh, I've left something at work," and he stands her up for the date. So he storms away, and that's when we see Nathan Fillion kind of lamenting that he always loved Starla when he's watching her at the barn dance.
Yeah. And I guess that's another reason that even though Grant isn't a bad guy as such, he's kind of like in the way of the relationship between like the hero of the movie, I guess, and Starla.
Yeah.
I guess that's why he sort of becomes that. It's almost like I'm glad deep down Nathan Fillion's like, I'm glad he's got tentacle disease. Finally, my time to shine.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, oh, I'm not a bad guy, so I wouldn't want to break you up with your husband. But if he ever did turn into a tentacle slug, then
I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll be there, completely tentacleless. I'm ready to go.
So at this point, Grant was supposed to be at the dance, but he's gone to find Brenda because he has these urges now, these overwhelming urges, and he managed to hold himself back from unleashing those urges on Starla. He's gone to Brenda instead. Let himself go wild.
And she's got a baby as well. And I was like, oh, don't eat the baby.
Again,
He doesn't eat the baby.
A nice bit of added like trauma and tension behind this, right? You didn't necessarily have to have a baby. It wouldn't necessarily play into anything, but you've increased the stakes and increased the tragedy by the fact he looks at this little baby in the crib and goes,
you don't really find out what necessarily happens to the baby for quite a while.
Yeah.
So it kind of keeps that little moment of tension and unsurety there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole thing with tentacles is he has to get both of them in you, and they shoot like something inside of you, something frothy, and
porridge.
Like when they're in you, you kind of almost instantly, maybe when they're both in you, you're almost instantly kind of overtaken by the hive mind.
Yeah.
Yes, they kind of
it's very sexual. It looks.
They're thrashing about, and
there's like focus on everyone's facial expressions when this is happening as well. To the point where I was like,
the cast call here were all required to do a lot of eye rolling.
Shit.
Yeah, but he, unfortunately for Brenda here, she gets that he filled up like a choux pastry. She's like an eclair when he's done. And Grant seems to enjoy it as well. But it isn't made clear whether she's alive or dead at this point. He's just filled her up with his gunge, and is...
I don't know how much more I can take of this.
I've got more.
What's happened is he's filled her up with his gunge, and then he's done with her, essentially.
He's not though, but he swipes her. Do we see him take her away, or... Because this is all going on while the barn dance is happening, right?
There's a moment later where we see that he's like locked her up in a sort of barn out in the wilderness, and she's chained up, and he starts bringing her meat.
He's like, she's very hungry. She goes,
she's absolutely starving,
famished, absolutely ravenous. Can I have you got anything to eat? And he goes, yeah, I've got all these animals that I've been...
I've only got 2 fingers of Kit Kat. We can have one each. Sorry.
That's not going to cut it. Sometimes when you're out there, and it's a good concession to healthy living, and I understand that people do it. You know, when you're out for a dinner And your partner goes, "Oh, should we just share a dessert?" And it's very nice, but part of you thinks, "Oh, should we eat the whole one?"
At what
Right, the
point?
old bloody one.
So, Nathan Fillion brings Starla back to her house, I think, and then does Grant show up there and he's kind of got his monster smile.
He's stayed. He's been gone all night. The police come round the next day. With the basement has already been locked, but that was what happened on the same day he bought all the meat, and he sort of pied it off as, "Oh, don't be asking some questions this close to your birthday." She's my best number ages. He goes, "That's close enough." And because he's been more thoughtful recently, since he's been an alien, she kind of lets it go.
I think
The
when we see
police
him
call
this
round.
time, his head's just a bit like red and inflamed, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. He is at home, and he's he goes, "Oh," because he is at home, and he says like, "Oh, I got stung by a bee, or I fell in some poison. I got something happened. Basically, I've had a terrible allergic reaction, but I don't need to go to hospital. I phoned
I've seen
the
the doctor. Yeah,
He gave me some cream. That same cream that Anthony had on the Candyman the week before."
there we go. That magic cream is well good. Have you been infected by an extraterrestrial parasite or infected by a
Ghost.
Candyman? Either or, the creams can sort you out.
Have a cream. Yeah, anything you've got. Rub a bit of that cream on, and it'll sort you out. But Starla finds out the following day. She phones the doctor. Did you guys see who the doctor was played by?
I know who the doctor was played by. Yeah, I read it earlier.
Do you know?
I can't remember.
Robert Zombie.
Oh,
Robert Zombie, and
Robbie
he
Zombie.
says, "I haven't seen your husband in months," or something like that. And she's like,
Yeah.
"That dirty lying bastard."
And she gets home, and the police call round and see her, and say, "Oh, it's just this woman went missing yesterday. Brenda and people have seen Grant walk into her house," and she kind of, despite her suspicions, covers for him immediately and says, "Oh, well, no, he's not here. It's fine. I'll call you if I see anything." And then she goes inside. Her suspicions get the better of her, and she breaks into the basement and sees it's full of horrible dead dogs and cats.
Yeah.
All the missing pets that you see in posters for around the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's just been gobbling them up like a dirty, greedy, horrible parasite. And does he like turn up pretty much?
He's at the window, isn't he? And he's like, "What have you done?" She's in the middle of phoning the police back, and he goes, "Oh, but he betrayed me, haven't you?"
And now he's got sort of like the sort of split, creepy smile.
Yeah, he's looking a bit gooey already.
His head looks like a potato with like all the little things growing out of it.
Little eyes.
Yeah. Little eyes, yeah. He looks like a spud.
Yeah. I mean, the police. I think remember the police turn up.
Yeah, they're obviously just down the road because it's literally minutes after they left when he phoned. He comes in and is like, yeah, he's strangling her, strangling Starla, and like it's like he's going to kill her at this point. Does he get his tentacles out and go to get her at this point?
Tentacles are out to get her, yeah, but they don't get her. I think she hits him with something and manages to sort of get away. Then the police come in and
he runs off with a wobbly arm.
Immediately runs off. Yeah, he gets a big old wobbly tentacle arm, and all the police kind of like are aghast with the sight of that, and he runs off.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, I think, skip forward in time a little bit. I think the
it like goes 3 days later or something like that, and they haven't found him yet.
And they're talking about him like he's like calamari, or they're making jokes about how he's a squid or something.
Squidman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. So they've been searching for him. They've got like, I think that they get a group together as well, don't they? So it's mainly the police, but they get some other people together as well to help out.
Little posse, because it's like that was the thing that the barn dance was about. It's to celebrate the beginning of hunting season, so there's loads of hunters around.
I'll hunt something. Do you want to hunt something? What about a tentacle man? Oh yeah, I'm game. I'm game.
We've got one of them before. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. So yeah, they go on this on this search, and they end up pretty much like, what are they doing? Like staking out a place where he was. Oh, that they sort of find the cow bodies, don't they, and follow them. And then
Yeah,
they
they've
find-
basically they've seen the trail of the farms that have been attacked. And we get another scene where they're investigating where there's like gutted dogs and cows everywhere. And again, they don't pull back from this at all. I imagine for those that look out for content warning because they don't like to see animals being killed in films,
Yeah.
many red flags on this one.
Yeah.
And also like the CGI is all right as well. It holds up pretty well when we get some distant shots of Grant going full tentacled on a cow, and then there's a bit later where he sort of like wiggles away.
Swipes a guy. But yeah, this is what happens now, right? So they predicted on the map, this is the direction he's going. He's going to be at this farm tonight. So they kind of stake it out and are ready for him to arrive.
Is it the Strutemeier's farm?
Yes. Yes. Mr. Strutemeyer.
Strutemeyer. And
So the mayor tags along as well. We forgot to mention him.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's just doing it for the sake of the town, I guess.
Publicity,
publicity.
Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't want anything to go out of control, I guess, right? Because he's like, he doesn't necessarily believe he's turned into a squidman, and he just wants to make sure there's not a horrible PR disaster. And Starla has also come along because she realizes that Brenda is missing, and if Grant is killed, they'll never be able to find her.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we see Grant getting a cow, and then they all follow after him, but Starla kind of goes ahead and basically calls out to him, confronts him, and says, "Grant, you bloody crazy bloke, you got to stop all this." And he's too far
Thinking
gone.
about it.
I think if you saw him, you go, "There's nothing I can do here." He is 90% tentacle at this stage. He's very squishy looking, very wet. And he's been eating cows and stuff. How could you get back in bed with a man who's killed 50 dogs and 20 cows? You'd be like, nah, I can't look at you the same way.
Yeah, maybe she thinks he can get better. Maybe he can, much like the blind man from Don't Breathe 2, he can sit down and reflect on his actions.
Yeah.
Remember that tentacle man in Slither? Yeah, I remember him. He killed loads of animals, didn't he? Yeah, but now he's an animal lover in Slither 2. Oh, yeah, I'll watch that.
He's the hero of the piece.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
So she's trying to get through to him, and she sort of leans on their marriage vows and says, "Oh, you're just sick. You have to get to the hospital. Just come with us." But then, like in many films of this, because it wouldn't be very good if it all just ended peacefully, one of the police deputies just steps out and is like, "You can come all peaceful, or we can fuck you up." And he whips him like he's one of those metal cables in the film Ghost Ship. He gives him a whipping, and he thinks about it for a second.
What I liked about this, there's an effect where he whips him, and you don't initially see that there's been like a wound on his head, but he just looks kind of like bruised under his skin. His face looks kind of purple around here.
Yeah,
and I thought that was quite effective.
He goes down vertical, right? Right down the middle there. Yeah.
Right down the middle.
Been halved.
Yeah.
Classic.
So Grant gets away. I think they maybe shooted him. He's quite quick.
He's fast.
Yeah, it's very quick. He scurries right off like Medusa.
Yeah, gets a right slither on.
Very snaky.
Yeah. And I think maybe so they chase him through the woods. They go hell for leather trying to get to him, and then they found a cabin, and they're like, "Oh, he's in here. Let's go get him." And this is when they run into Brenda, who's still chained up, and she's like, the fat vampire from Blade 1.
Like that, but times 10.
Times 10, yeah.
The girl who eats the sweet in Willy Wonka, can't remember her name.
Yeah, it's been she's been Violet Beauregarded.
Yeah, she's absolutely it's like a blimp that's like an enchanted blimp that's come to life in a Disney film.
An enchanted blimp full of rotten meat.
And she's still hungry.
She's still hungry. She said, "Pass me a bit of that possum over there. Just a little nibble of the possum."
Yeah.
But she's like big bloated and almost like trembling with. You wouldn't go anywhere near her. But she absolutely stinks.
I bet she stinks. Yeah, she looks like she stinks. And then Grant's looking in through the window again. We find out that Grant led them there.
He's like,
I got you.
I got you, you twats.
He really polies away. And the this is when Brenda starts to split open, I think.
bursts.
She starts to split like you ever seen those videos where somebody puts elastic bands on a watermelon, just like hundreds of them until they explode. They've got like swimming goggles on ready just for when it explodes. Kind of looks a bit like that. It's a bit
in the splash zone. Oh,
you're standing in the splash.
It's sticky.
It's sticky, but yeah, she explodes. But it's just load of the old slugs that come out.
Yeah, and they wash right over most of them. I think they get in a fair few of them mouths.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks, basically all of the minor characters whose name you aren't going to remember. Another female deputy is fine. But Nathan Fillion, Starla, the mayor, they're all okay. They all like cover them and like they realize that the things are trying to get in their mouths.
The mayor says, "It was trying to get in my mouth. What kind of thing wants it to eat you?"
Yeah.
This reminded me a bit of a certain Suicide Squad moment with rats as well.
Yeah, rats and starfish.
Yeah.
With the way I think one of them gets up. The older detective guy gets up. Older police guy, and he says something to Starla. I can't remember what he says.
Yeah, so
they've been like super confused.
Yeah, they've been got, and for all intents and purposes, they think they're not dead. They're all just unconscious. So they're starting to clear things up, and we see that the old man comes up and he's talking to her in a way that's confusing because effectively he is Grant now, and he's like, "Oh, why did you betray me? Like, oh, I think you're ace."
A Grant hive mind. It looks like anyone who gets infected by these big red slugs become like a Grant hive mind.
And we get a breakdown of this. I guess we get basically a character that gets to be a little exposition machine when we see the wave of slugs having moved away from our main characters. They go to the farmhouse just as everyone's getting ready to bed. So there's a mom and a dad. There's an older daughter who is, top end of being a teenager, and there's two little kiddies.
Yeah.
And this is your scene although the exact image from the bath from your image in the background doesn't happen then, but just it's a bit slightly different.
It would be far different if that was the case, but we just get it's sort of like an homage to Nightmare on Elm Street, isn't it?
Yeah.
This kind of full of little homages. Like we've got the Blob, we've got Society later on. Nightmare on Elm Street.
The Thing probably throughout, and I know that this is also, I have not seen it actually. I've added it to my list to catch up. I know this is directly, I guess it's most often accused of being a heavy take on Night of the Creeps. It's like an 80s movie about like slugs that go in your mouth and make you into a zombie. But I've not seen it. I've not seen it.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers as well, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I'll reserve full comment until I've actually watched Night of the Creeps, but it feels like what this is a homage to any number of horror things.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that. So the slug comes to try and join the teenage girl in the bath, and it gets pretty close to infecting her, but when it's in her mouth, there's a moment where she kind of views like the history of the extraterrestrial parasite. She sees it on another planet infecting some weird rat creatures.
Like big bald guinea pigs.
And she kind of sees like other things for like Grant and other things as well, doesn't she? So she kind of understands how it works as well, but she doesn't it doesn't get her. She manages to
rip it out the wall. Chuck it out, and then she kills it with a sleepaway camp. Gets it with the straightening irons.
The way that the Thing it kind of bakes and then cooks and then splits open, and it's like pussy stuff comes out. it looks like kind of real to me. Like it starts off super gooey, and then it seems to dry just the way I imagine a slug like that would dry if you shoved
An
something.
extraterrestrial slug would die. I just kept thinking, why she got the straightening irons on? If I was in that household and I came in and said, "What are these doing on? You're in the bath. Your hair's soaking wet."
Dangerous.
Absolutely not. Very dangerous. Obviously handy in this situation.
Maybe
there's
a sub story in this film of a teenager who's very sad.
Yeah.
But we don't get to see the rest of it. But at the same time, slugs start appearing everywhere. She goes out of the room. She finds her mum. Hey, mum, and then she's like got a slug flapping out of her mouth hole at that point. She goes into the kids' bedroom. There's like are they twins or something?
Two little twins,
convulsing in the bed.
Yeah, they've been got.
If this film doesn't care about animals, it doesn't care about kids either. It's like, what's that kid's got? Immediately got.
Again,
spewing blood.
Leaning into the aesthetic of the 80s remake of The Blob, that again, just you kill kids off.
Yeah.
Which is realistic, right? In a horror movie, kids are, through many metrics, worse than adults. Better at being young, absolutely. I'll give them credit for that. Not as good at fighting slug monsters, I would wager.
No. So she manages to escape the house, but then all her family basically come after her, like zombified, but also like it reminded me of the vampires in I Am Legend, the book, not the film, where they're like trying to convince her to I'll just come out and join it, come out and chill with us. Come on, it's only your little sister. How scary can I be? They've got,
you can see in my background here, she's very scary. Look at her little face.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. But yeah, that was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, but she's on to them now. She knows their plan, having been almost connected to the slugs. She did a bit of eye rolling when she was being attempted to be possessed, so she kind of knows how it works now. So what you have here is a resource of a character that, you know, in the absence of there being a science character, you know, Doc Brown, who just knows it all, you have her who now can offer some explanation as to what the ins and outs are.
Yep, that's good. I think that works.
Yeah.
So Nathan Fillion's character is coming back into the town, while everything's continuing to kick off with his colleagues and Starla as well, and he stumbles across this family trying to kill the teenage daughter as well, and they just run, don't they? He helps them get away, and they just run.
Yeah, he sees them and they turn their attention to him. She's able to run out of the car, and they start to make where she's hidden, and they start to try and make their escape. Meanwhile, Starla is being confronted by the old man that is basically Grant. The other zombies start getting up, and this is where the female deputy, who was fine, gets got, because they can also spit acid now.
Yeah, they can spit some really corrosive, horrible acid, which, like, because I kept thinking, they're quite slow. You probably would be able to outmaneuver them. But yeah, then they do a Dilophosaurus at you.
Yeah. So she gets Nedried, and
she gets Nedried. I have nothing on me.
Yeah. So she gets got, and then Starla blows one of the guys away, like does a proper like head explode with a shotgun.
Yeah, classic.
And I guess the two groups kind of meet up with each other. So Nathan Fillion and the teenage girl Kylie have they've started to try and make an escape in the police car. They see the others running across the road, and Starla taking out one of the other deputies by like smashing him in the face with like a big metal pole.
Yeah.
She like hit it or something. Like she's like going to town on it.
Drag like stabs him in the throat. It's like so she's on board with killing the zombies already. So then they basically are able to collect McCready, the mayor, Starla, who have escaped that scenario. The four of them head back to town in the car, and they're phoning Shelby at the dispatch center to ask what's going on. But unfortunately, she gets got by worms.
Yeah, to come through the ceiling, I think. There's a bit here. So I think Nathan Fillion goes to get some weapons and a grenade from the police.
I got a grenade I've been saving for a rainy
Yeah,
day.
he's been saving the grenade because they leave it behind when they first go.
But he gets attacked by a deer.
Yeah. Well, they all get separated in the first instance. I think one of the characters, they see a deer being got by the slugs.
They take the what's his name, the prime minister. They take Tony Blair.
Yeah, because Grant has basically got an executed plan, because once Shelby's been possessed, they come on the radio again and say, "Oh yeah, got a surprise for you," and the surprise is that they're going to crash another car into you and wipe you out and then try and kidnap you. So Starla is taken, as is the mayor, McCready, and now we're just down to Nathan Fillion and what?
Kylie or something.
Kylie.
Like
Yeah,
The whole deer sequence was very Evil Dead, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's his Evil Dead scene, and that's where they're trying to get it, because they realize that if they can use that grenade to try and kill him, that might be the solution if they can get Grant. And then we have your deer bit where they're fighting.
Yeah.
I don't think that fight lasts for that long, does it? I think
no, because I think Kylie intervenes and saves him, and then they decide to that's a big old squash. They decide to say, "Oh, it was me that saved you, wasn't it, Kylie?" When we tell this story, and she's like, "Yeah, if you want, you twat."
Yeah, she's like, "Yeah, like you did save me, thanks for that." But you do realize when I tell this story, it's going to be the other way around.
Yeah, she does kind of tell Nathan Fillion about what the essentially big plan of the parasite's going to be, what the true form of the parasite is, how it takes over hosts, and what it does to those infected, and what Grant's larvae are going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this is the breakdown, right? Like, fill in any gaps that I've done it. So Grant, the main host body, is the alien itself. Anyone who gets a slug in them will be just basically an extension of him that you can go out and can do his bidding. And then effectively his nature is that he's going to either eat and consume and just cham them up, anyone that's alive, take them, make them into a breeder by injecting them with that thing that helps him make more slugs, or I think eventually even people that are slugged will basically come and be absorbed into his biomass, like
melt into him.
Yeah, like
society,
like the end of Inside.
Just wants to be a big old Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to be.
And he's getting there.
They're like the ones that like melt into him. They look. There's still something very sexual going on. They're all kind of writhing around and like groaning. Yeah. Also, there's like, I don't know what's happening, but some guy. It's not. I don't think it's the maid, but some guy's getting their arm melted off or something. Like they're rounding up some people, and then they're doing the venom spit on his arm or something to take it off. I don't know. I just remember this guy screaming. But
weren't they doing that to? Oh yeah, I kept thinking that was the mayor, but maybe it's just someone else.
I think it might have been a randomer.
Oh yeah, it's just a randomer that they're pulling along. Do they do that just to tenderize them for easy eating?
I think maybe.
Easy eating, easy digestion, something like that.
The bits, yeah.
Is that a The Fly thing? Do you think?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe he's deliberately throwing stuff like that into.
Yeah, look at all the.
Why not? If you're James Gunn and you don't know that this is your first and maybe only mainstream movie you might ever get to direct, throw everything in.
Yeah.
Throw all the references in there. Yeah. So what happens now? I think so the plan is essentially go in, put a grenade up Grant's bum, blow him up, and then if he dies, then all of the other people would die because he's the he's the mothership essentially.
That's the best guess that they've got, right? And Kylie goes, yeah, maybe, and that's the best chance they have. I mean, we haven't really dwelled on it. There's loads of like Nathan Fillion in particular has some great dialogue, but there's a little exchange here just before they get to the house, which I loved in this movie. It was like, well, what are we going to do now? It's like, oh, this is all fucked up, isn't it? And it's like, well, what are we going to do now? It's like, probably get turned into one of these fucked up things. Like, that's pretty negative.
And he's like, well, I've got nothing else to give you at the moment. Sorry.
But yeah, they've got to the house, and this is where you can see people, some people moving along and actively getting absorbed into him, where he's hanging out the back of the house. He's a big old Akira at this point.
Yeah.
People are actively going and like lying down against him and getting absorbed. Pretty sure that James Gunn's brother is one of them.
Oh, he's got to be, isn't he? What, Sean Gunn? He's got to be. He's got to be there somewhere.
Sean Gunn's one of the ones in the living room, I think.
Okay, I got you.
And meanwhile, while this has been happening, Starla is upstairs in bed, and they've brushed the hair and everything and made her look all nice.
He's made a lovely like shrine to her with all the
they've put all the pictures up,
which is lovely, isn't it? I just kept thinking, if you were a hive mind and you just infected loads of people, think how much stuff you'd get done. All the DIY in the house will be done in one day. It'd be like a changing room scenario where all hands on deck.
I wouldn't want them to absorb into me afterwards. They just want the slugs to get them to come and do stuff.
Yeah. Oh, no need to absorb into me. It's all right. Just the grass needs mowing, lawn needs mowing, this needs doing. That's fine. Yeah, almost like a Dr. Manhattan scenario, isn't it? Where he's like, oh, you go upstairs and sort her out, and I'll sit down here reading the paper. That's right.
Yeah. Given the choice, if you had to make one, would you rather be a big slug man that people absorb into, or a blue naked man that experiences all time at once? What do you reckon?
Well, Dr. Manhattan's dead depressed, isn't he?
I don't know. Is Dr. Manhattan depressed? He's just disconnected, right?
Just disconnected because, like, he's seen. Imagine this, right? We've done almost 200 episodes of this. Imagine if you had seen all of the films you've simultaneously experienced them all at the same time. Also, films that don't yet exist because you can see the future. And you also already know what you're going to say on this podcast because you also experienced that in the future. It's a lot to take in.
Sounds like it'd be a great listen. You know what I mean? It'd be a great listen. You'd be listening to the most knowledgeable horror fan ever.
Yeah, so you'd be disconnected, but you do a hell of a podcast.
Yeah, especially if you had your blue wang out.
Yeah, and there's no way that you'd ever be behind as well. Sometimes once or twice you've had to record on a different day because we haven't quite got to the movie yet. He wouldn't do that because he's experiencing the past and future simultaneously. So I think it's a no-brainer for me which one I'd pick.
I think, if you toss up anything between be a massive slug man, most of the time the other answer's going to win.
What if you had to pick which massive slug man you were going to be? Would you rather be man? Just a regular? That's not on the table, Luke. Come on.
Just be a regular guy, please.
If you had to be this slug man or classic Jabba the Hutt slug man, which one would you like? Slagman. Yeah.
Well, Jabba the Hutt seems to still be in control of his. I don't know. Like he's not like constantly needing to grow or eat or.
And he's pretty much just chilling in the same place. And imagine people bring his meals to him, and he's on the piss every day in that cantina place. Well, he is, isn't he? Like, where is he? He's in a bar.
He's a right lad. He's like the version of that awful Asbo man that won the lottery in this country. He is him.
Michael Carroll.
He can talk regular English, but he's just so sozzled.
I'm absolutely sozzled here. And he's obsessed with having a slave at all times. It's like, oh, come on, Jabba. This having a slave thing.
Ironically, though, Jabba the Hutt's slightly less cancelled than the blind man from Don't Breathe.
Yeah. Everyone's redeemable, right? Everyone's got a redeemable character arc. We want to see there's going to be a sequel to... Actually, Jabba's dead, isn't he?
Jabba the Hutt for the most part. I know he makes his money from a criminal organization, but he is probably one of the largest employers on Tatooine.
What is it like mass size?
He's
absolutely huge.
Yeah, he's huge, but he also does a lot for the economy, like the hospitality industry alone. He's on a constant pleasure cruise. He puts a lot of money into that planet.
Do you know what I always liked and always wanted to know more about, like as a subplot in Star Wars, is the bloke who cries when the Rancor dies. And when the
There'll be a comic
Rancor,
about it.
yeah.
There'll be a comic about it, absolutely,
He gets
about how we raise that Rancor.
Crushed by the gate, and he's like, "Oh, the little cute Rancor's dead."
Also, you know the little jester that that little guy,
Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, I think when he like clocks off for work and he's like just really sad, he hangs his head and walks home.
Or he's like the glasses gremlin. Oh, yeah. Anyway, we may have got slightly off topic there. So the worst Slugman to be Grant. Starla comes down and he's like, "Oh, you bastard, you betrayed me." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't mean to betray you. It was quite scary." And this is where she tries to again appeal to what's left of him as a human. Said, "Oh, it's just an adjustment. Our marriage is important. I can learn to adjust. You like it when I call you Grant. There is still good in you. You don't want to do these, and I can be by your side while you do the things that you need to do. Except, guess what? She doesn't really mean that. She just pretends to give him a kiss. She can stab him in the neck
with a horrible hairbrush with like a sharp handle.
What a dangerous hairbrush to sell!
Oh, I know. And he kind of like smashes her backwards. She
across
like hits
the room.
wall.
Yeah, she doesn't stab him enough. And then he's still at it.
Fillion turns up, and they obviously
with the grenade, I think.
With the grenade, which the grenade goes. I mean, it's got at least a 25 seconds after the pin gets taken out. I couldn't. Yeah, it's pretty tense.
It doesn't go off. It does. Like he has a little bit of a scramble around to get it, and this is his. Like in many ways, it's Nathan Fillion's fault because like he tries to do an action one-liner. He comes in and I forget what he says. He like goes, "Ah, suck it," and gets it knocked out of his hand, and then it gets pinged out the window and just explodes harmlessly in the pool.
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion,
Kylie gets like absolutely destroyed at this point as well. Like
she gets a sofa whizzed at her.
Yeah,
gets a sofa whizzed at her, and then Nathan Fillion gets smashed out the window, and then, not to put too fine a point in it, starts getting jizzed up.
Yeah. He's got one tentacle in his stomach, and the other one's like flapping around in his face.
He's trying to get there. It's almost getting there.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty gross. But Nathan manages to grab a propane tank and shoves it's got the perfect nozzle or something to.
Yeah,
it's basically the perfect. Yes, it's the exact.
It's got an adapter.
Perfect fitting.
Surely, I don't think those things work quite like that. Do they? I guess maybe as long as there's a tight seal around the side and you open the valve, it should be fine. It'll do the job. But it starts to fill Grant up, and he says, "Shoot." I think Starla shoots the Grant, and he blows it just the right amount, like just the fleshy amount of Grant gets blown up, and everyone else is okay. Well. Okay.
All the approaching zombies, all zombie people, all collapse. So all of them are gone.
They're all dead. It wasn't like they could just live on. They're all dead as well. Unfortunate.
Yeah, because I think the people are, when they get got, it's not like you're a host of these things and they're controlling you. It's not like Grant, there is a semblance of his own consciousness in there. It feels like those people are dead and they are now possessing those bodies.
Yeah. Similar to,
and I guess we missed out the fact that the mayor he got infected as a breeder as well, and he got the hungry disease, and he was eating down in the basement. As Nathan Fillion is coming in, we see his plot thread is resolved because he comes up and is like, "Oh shit, you got to kill me." And he goes, "Okay," just shoots him in the head.
Literally just shoots him in the head without a second thought, and his face is all bloated. He looks like Rick Mail and Drop Dead Fred when his face goes big like a plate
stuck in a fridge.
Stuck in a bloody fridge, mate. Yeah. And everyone, so that's it. The survivors come out of the house. Classic, we're alive in the morning moment. And we
learn that Nathan Fillion is, because we're worried that he's been got, right? So he's been got with the stuff that will turn him into a big hungry breeder. but Kylie's able to point out, don't think it's stated until this point, that you've got to get both types of the thing in you.
Yeah.
It's like doing a cream tea, I guess. If you got the scone but not if you got the cream but not the jam, it's not the same, is it? It's not a cream tea until you got both.
No, it's not. There we go.
Cool.
What's that?
And off they pop, off home. They'll explain that to someone when they get out of town and find someone that isn't dead.
Are you ready for the name game?
Before we are, Luke, did you Luke, what's his name? James Gunn. He was ready for a career in Marvel. Watch the end credits scene.
I didn't, but I can see in there's some kind of credit scene.
Oh yes, a cat, isn't it? A cat approaches Grant's remains, becomes infected by the alien parasite. He knew it, didn't he? It's always stay to the end.
Yeah, got a cat. Well, we assume it gets a cat. You hear a cat scream in off camera, and it's licking the little thing with a spike in it. Could be that the cat wasn't got. Could be that the cat just got surprised by something else, and the situation is definitely
Unrelated.
over.
Nah.
Yeah,
He's dead.
It does make me want to go back to Guardians of the Galaxy, in the collector's room, and just see if there's any, I don't know.
Any Slither Slug.
I think there might be a Slither Slug, I would have completely forgotten that until you mentioned it, Luke. I think the collector might have one.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Slither.
Slither Slug.
Join us as we find out live.
There are some Slither Slugs.
No way.
Yeah, interesting.
There we go. That is good.
So there you go, canon.
Interesting, yeah. Okay, you guys ready for some name game?
I am.
Okay, so this first one is about a small town. It's taken over by an alien plague. It turns residents into small and narrow portions of themselves.
Slither.
Correct. Slither. Spelled with a V. This next one is about a small town. It's taken over by an alien plague. It turns residents into people who are not a taker, but a
Giver.
Well done. 2 for 2. This next one is about a small town overtaken by an alien plague that turns residents into small cutting devices. Small cutting devices.
Scissors.
Yeah, scissor.
Nice.
This next one is a small town taken by an alien plague and it turns residents into game show hosts.
Game show hosts.
Yeah. Or quiz show hosts.
Quiz show hosts.
Yeah, same thing really, but
Quizzer. Was that Bradley Walsh?
Sometimes I think too much.
Yeah,
that's my problem. I'm thinking too much.
Tried to think of a specific one.
I was like, Chris Tarrant?
Yeah, Clarkson. I don't know.
Next one is a small town taken by an alien plague. It turns residents into airport dogs.
Sniffer.
Oh, but you're going to struggle with that. Sniffer.
No.
Oh, yeah.
We crushed it. I got one for you, Luke, if you want one. Came to me as we were going through. So an alien invasion of a small town makes all the infected people really, really indecisive. They're paralyzed by indecision almost.
Hither? Dither?
I got a good one.
Go on.
Oh, I've got one. I don't want to call it a good one. I've got one.
I've got one.
Okay, alien invasion, residents taken over by, and the only way to take them down is by shooting an arrow into their heads.
Quiver.
Whoa.
Yeah, you got to remember when I pick the 5 that I pick, I go through a lot.
Everything that it possibly sounds like. If you at home enjoy the name game, and I know at least one of you does, and you've got some of your own that you want to send in, it's upon the socials. We've had a couple of chains where we've gone through and done a few of those. As obtuse as you can make them, we welcome it. Send them in the Facebook group.
Never.
Or just tweet them to us a week or two after we've done this and completely out of context really confuse us.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Cool. And we need to rate the film. Interesting. I feel like Andy's going to go quite high.
Oh, the prediction game.
I mean, only because it seems like your kind of film. Like when I think James Gunn. I think maybe
James Gunn is just an Andy film.
Yeah, I think James Gunn has done his market research, and if he has a template audience, it's probably me. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Like I think, I'm in the case studies of the person that he looks to make films for. Yeah, no fooling. I'm going to go high on this one. I think I might be the highest of the three, but I think you two guys enjoyed it plenty.
Yeah.
But I don't think Luke's going to give a B- because he's now worried about giving too many B-.
I wouldn't go that low, to be honest. I mean, I was very, very nearly an A, but I don't know. I enjoy watching it. I just don't know if it's quite as quite as punky as James Gunn's other films. I feel like it's maybe even a little bit predictable, if that makes sense in any way. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it is great. It is a great film. So I'm going to go with B+. I'm going to go with.
I think I was going to go with B+ as well. That's what I was thinking, because I got a lot of love for this film. As I said, I had it on DVD, watched it a lot, and then even though it's probably close to a decade since I saw it last, still holds up. And it's got that James Gunn flavor as well that obviously now we're more accustomed to, having seen bigger, higher budget films from him as well. So yeah, it's a good time. It's good fun. Great performances from everyone involved. Great effects. Some really gory, gross out stuff. So yeah, good times.
And I'm going to go now. I'm in a bit of a quandary because I think I was going to go B+, but now having spoken about it,
oh god,
and you're probably right, and I think I might go A-, which is a negligible difference, but I think I might go an A- on this one because I think all those things you just spoke about, and also if I really think about it, we've talked about all the things that this film pays tribute to. In many ways, this is the most efficient way that I can gain memories of The Blob and The Thing and Nightmare on Elm Street and Night of the Creeps if I get around to watching it and turn out I like it, and Society and all those other things. I can do this in a tight 94 minutes or whatever it is that this film runs for. So I'll give you an extra half grade for that, James. And also James Gunn movies, as we've established, he strikes me as a nice guy. I feel like if I lived in Hollywood and was a filmmaker, we may be friends. He seems like he's a good sort.
Yeah. Cool. So next week, I think we're doing Malignant, which is coming around pretty quick.
James Wan.
The other James.
Yeah.
We're doing this next week. Let's put it on the line here, prediction wise. We'll be right or wrong in a week's time. How are you guys feeling about this?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like when James Wan does horror. I generally do anyway. But I don't know if I like. It's got a kind of a true crimey kind of angle, which I don't normally jive with all that much. I don't know. I think I'm going to be like a B-.
Anything I've seen from the trailer hasn't grabbed me so far. It looks quite generic.
Yeah.
But I did think that about Suicide Squad as well, and I ended up really liking it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I have a similar fear with Malignant. It feels like they've chosen a spooky word, and I've got a lot of faith in James Wan. I think he's a great director, so I'm going to go and watch it with that one. But it just feels like this is, I don't know, the whole feeling of it is like something that might just wash over me, and there might not be anything remarkable to it from the trailers. And they're doing loads of podcast advertising at the moment, and it's not just because they're not advertising on ours, unless they are. It's a ad roll. Yes. But yeah, it feels like I hear the trailers and it feels very paint by numbers, but we'll find out. James Wan has got a lot of credibility.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm quite excited to go watch it and to see if it will be a B- or not. Cool. Is there anything else we need to let people know about before we pack up?
I think so.
No.
Cool.
We've covered all the big ones.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks for the listeners. Please consider rating and reviewing in iTunes, and remember to hit subscribe. Thanks to my co-hosts Ben and Andy for being right hard dudes. You can follow Andy on Twitter at Andy. Oh no, Andy CT Writes.
That's it.
And Ben at Ben_Errington.
Yes.
Cool.
Do it.
And I'm at Luke of Condor with K. Cool. Nice one.
Nice
Right.
one, guys.
Let's see you next time, everybody.
Catch you next time. All the best now.
Cool. Bye.
See you later. Slithers off.